Hi, my name is Margaret Artist, and today we'll be talking about macronutrients in the diet so that you can help to see through what foods are and break them up a little bit like I do as a trained dietitian. I call it my nutrition goggles when I'm looking at food. It's like an X-ray vision from all my training. So I will mention that before we get started, perhaps you'd like to give us a like or share with a friend or subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you. Hi. Macronutrients in the diet start with protein. Basically, if it walks, swims, or flies, it's a source of protein. So this includes things like what I call white meat, fish, chicken, turkey, and red meat. So lamb, beef, pork, and pork is a red meat because its nutrition properties are that of a red meat. It's good marketing that calls it a white meat. And veal. That would also include probably kangaroo for those Australians who eat kangaroo. There's also another type of protein in the diet, which is plant protein. Plant proteins come from legumes and pulses, these ones, and you might be more familiar with them in the form, say, of tofu. Tofu comes from soybeans or even nut meat, and I also need to mention tree nuts as a source of protein as well. So vegetarians would be much more familiar with that, but everyday people, there's no reason why they can't eat legumes and pulses as well. Protein has a role of replacing our muscles, which are somewhere under here. And our muscles, obviously support our skeleton, give us strength, and help us to function in the world. It is a bit simplistic to think about food in terms of what its role is, but flesh food, so eating animal muscle from meat, is replacing our muscle. So muscle goes to muscle. It's a simple way of thinking about what is a protein. We can only absorb a small amount of protein at any particular meal. So that's quite interesting when we think about how much protein, how much meat we eat at a meal. The rest is excess. So the next nutrient is carbohydrate. Over here. Carbohydrate has quite a bit of phobia about it in the media today. There's a lot of people who, talk about not eating carbohydrate at all. And diet examples of that are the paleo diet, but it does have a role in our body. These are some examples of carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is Mother Nature's feel-good. It's a good energy source. We don't need to fear carbohydrate. Our brain prefers to run on carbohydrate, and we feel good when we have carbohydrates in our diet. Now, there are different types of carbs, or which is carbohydrate for short. We used to think about carbs as simple and complex, but more recent evidence built over the last 25 years gives us a different insight into carbohydrates. It's called the glycemic index, and it's basically a ranking of different carbohydrates in terms of how they released their energy in our blood, in our body. So this was developed by researchers including from Australia, Jenny Brand-Miller at the University of Sydney. And it is a ranking of these carbohydrates, as I mentioned, and I'll go into this in more detail in future episodes. So, the other big macronutrient is fat. Over here, some images of fat. We need fat. Every cell in our body is made of a wall that defines the cell, and that's made of fat. So it has a very important role in our body, in different parts of our body. So if you've got healthy fats coming in through the diet, you've got healthy, flexible cell walls. The different types of fat in our diet are saturated fat, and you can see this on a nutrition panel, trans fats, polyunsaturated fats, which you've probably heard of, monounsaturated fats, and highly unsaturated fatty acids. And you may have heard of those as omega-3s, which has got a little W3 signal. Now, the next sort of a macronutrient and sort of not is, I just want to mention it in this group, is fibre. Fibre is part of our diet too. It comes via carbohydrates, and it also comes via our fruit and vegetables, so these ones. Fibre is quite important in our diet, and there are different arguments as to whether it's a macronutrient or not, and it has very special roles, and I will go into that in a future episode. But it is important to remember that no single food is made up of just one macronutrient, and I think that's where it starts to get a bit confusing. Foods we enjoy are a mixture of different macronutrients, and that's normal. For example, simple cow's milk is a mixture of fat, it has protein, and it has carbohydrate in there. And that's what when we look at a nutrition panel on foods, that helps to distinguish or give us insight into what these macronutrients are. Fat, energy is also what they report on there, but they do report fat, protein, and total carbohydrates. So that's what I'd like to give you that insight into when you're looking at the nutrition panel. Fat, carbohydrate in total, and protein are three key parts of that nutrition panel. Thanks for watching. Please remember, you may wish to share this episode with a friends or family, or if you would like a notification when I post a new episode, you can hit the bell on your screen and you'll get that notification. Thank you. Hi.